Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Suit Up Podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Adkins. It's great to have you with us again today. What I'm really excited about is that fall is here. You know, by the time this episode goes out, we will be well into fall. And I'm really, really excited about colors and layering of clothes and fashion, the smells and aromas, the pumpkin spices. I'm all about fall. So I'm really, really excited about the fall season upon us. Again, great to have you on today's episode. I always like to start off with a little bit of business first, making sure to hit that like and subscribe button. And feel free to leave podcast episodes, recommendations, things and topics that you'd like to hear us talk about, or even questions that you have for me individually. We've had a really good response over the last few episodes, so I'm really glad that it seems to be working well. And today I have a great pleasure of introducing a great friend of mine, Mr. Brandon Burrough. How you doing, my friend?
Hey, I'm doing great.
Good to see you, bud.
So grateful to be here.
Thanks, man. I know that just coming back from a little vacay, I understand.
Oh my gosh, Dominican Republic. I am in relax mode right now.
Right. We had a quick conversation on the phone, and you were like, "Man, I'm in this chill. I needed just one more day, right? Just one more day." Isn't that the case? Like, I remember going on vacations, and we would do it for a short period of time. And then as we added on a few extra days, like each year we'd be like, let's try it for 7 days or let's try it for 10 days. And then I'm realizing, I don't know if it is for you, but you go in for like 3 or 4 days, but about that 5th, 6th, 7th day is when you finally get settled.
Oh yeah, that's exactly.
Why do you think that is?
Just the hustle and bustle of life, right? You get caught up in your day to day, and it's hard to think about anything else besides what you're doing every single day. And so, in order to finally check out from that, you gotta put in a couple of days of vacay.
And I think it's a good point that our minds are always going, and we're like in work mode, and it's almost like it takes a while for our minds to unplug for a little while.
Totally.
And then it kind of reminds me, and this is totally off the subject, but it just reminds me of like even our sleeping patterns. It takes a while to get into that REM sleep, but then you get that good rest and then you come out of it. I feel the same way about vacations. So, wow, that was a great tangent talking about vacations. Hey, take a vacation. Everybody needs to take a vacation. So, Brandon, I want you to introduce yourself a little more in detail and tell my audience some of the things you do, and then we're going to deep dive.
Okay, so my name is Brandon Burrough. I am a connection and empowerment coach, or a emotional intelligence and leadership coach, to be more generalized. But I also have an e-commerce business. I've spent some time in the real estate world. I host workshops on the regular in regards to emotional intelligence and leadership, and yeah, I mean that's kind of the gist, the overall.
I love it.
Yeah.
Multifaceted and an entrepreneur, right? I love it. That's like something that I am all about, the side hustles, the entrepreneurship. So let's deep dive a little bit in the empowerment coaching. So, what was your why getting involved in that empowerment coaching?
It's funny. It was a timing thing. It was something that I was really hungry for, and I didn't even know that I was hungry for.
Okay.
I actually was introduced to the emotional intelligence and leadership work, through a workshop out in San Diego, California, because I lived out there for 7 years. Born and raised in Richmond, Virginia.
But lived in San Diego.
Oh,
man. Did you get spoiled a little bit?
Oh man, it was nice. It was nice. Pros and cons.
Of course.
But yeah, so in the real estate world, a big part of that out there, obviously, you take on a lot of no's every single day, right? It's a grind, and so you gotta dive into the arenas that keep your mind sharp. Stumbled into this emotional intelligence training, changed my life. It was literally a 4-month training. Leveled my life up in all ways.
Wow.
Created awareness in my life
That you didn't even know.
that I had no idea about things that were holding me back. Also did not know about things that were that I was really good at, that I wasn't even acknowledging in my life. And
Wow.
so it allowed me to kind of let go of the things that were holding me back and double down on the things that that I was not acknowledging, and here we are, and I was just inspired to kind of give that work back to the world.
So it was kind of a self-discovery period?
Oh my gosh.
Really? Like eye-opening?
Understatement of the century.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? So, let's go give me a little more on that. Like some of the things that you didn't realize that you were, strengths and weaknesses. Because I know it wasn't just a flip the light switch on kind of thing. It took some time to kind of dig in. And as you're going through the course or the empowerment, that you were like, wow, the self-discovery. Did you have those call the wife and like, babe, yeah, I had no idea, or any of those kinds of things?
Many of those.
Right?
Many of those. But the biggest
Notebooks of notes and notes and notes, right?
Oh my gosh. The biggest thing for me though was how disconnected I was showing up in the world. We go through our day to day and we don't really acknowledge the things that are happening around us or why they're happening. And disconnection is a very generalized term in the grand scheme of things, but you can be disconnected in your relationships. You can be disconnected in your money. You can be disconnected in your health and fitness. And you might not be acknowledging these things because you might have these might be your safety valves in your life, and or maybe because you're overcompensating in other areas of your life. But for me, I was disconnected in my relationships with people around me, and I always wondered why I never had those deep connected relationships in my life.
Wow. Okay.
That I always yearned for, and I had a tendency of self-sabotaging those relationships.
Didn't know why.
Had no idea.
So has that been something that you've dealt with all along in your life, that you felt like kind of disconnected in relationships?
Yeah. Up until that point.
Yeah.
Up until the point where I realized that it was an issue.
Right. That self-discovery thing, and I really like that what you're saying, that you didn't know until you knew, and then when you realized, did you reflect back, looking at your life, and be like, wow, I see instances now where it all made kind of sense as to why things worked out the way that they did.
100%. But I always say my slogan in life is everything is perfect, right? Everything is perfectly imperfect as well.
Right.
And so,
no regrets, but at the same time, we're learning.
Right, exactly. But they lead you to the point where you currently are. And if I hadn't experienced those experiences in those relationships, I wouldn't be able to even acknowledge or show up in a different way now.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. That's really, really cool. So when you went through the course and you realized a lot of these things about yourself, did it inspire you in any way?
Oh, unbelievable. I mean, I had lots of phone calls to make.
Yeah?
Yeah. Lots of acknowledging to do in regards to my past relationship, but inspiring me in regards to showing up in a more powerful way for the people around me. Because when you can show up in the most powerful version of yourself, you can inspire others, and it creates a ripple effect in the world.
I love that, because it's all about really what you can do for others, right?
That's all it's about.
That's all it's about. One of the things that I talk about a lot on my podcast is that it all starts and ends with relationships. Everything you want in life and where you are in life and the things that have failed and the things that have been successful, I can almost take it all back to a relationship with whatever that was. Like you're saying, money or people or time or health. What is my relationship, with that? So let's take a particular topic, and I want it to be your choice of these discovery areas. And let's give our audience a little bit of a, crash course. Let's pick a particular topic and say, here's a way that I feel about, personal relationships or money or something of that nature. And let's give the audience a little bit of, coaching.
Okay. So in regards to, I'd say relationships.
I love it.
And like you said, I love relationships. And again, it just goes back to my biggest breakthrough, and that's, my moment of self-discovery. It's coaching is more of a question asking process
to draw it out of the person.
Yes, right? So it's kind of tough to coach the audience as I'm talking to a camera here, but
do your best, man. Just let it fly.
But yeah, it's really just your relationships are going to be a mirror of what you're experiencing internally.
Ooh,
and
come on now.
And so if you're able to discover the things that might be holding you back internally in regards to anything in your life, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you're noticing the breakdowns in one area of your life, you can use that to look internally and understand how that's affecting another area of your life, and then you can
I love it.
You can break through that in that area, and then all the while make that other area better as well.
So one area can unlock all these others.
It all starts with one.
Okay.
Everything starts with one. So if you notice that you have a tendency of being late, then that's a self-sabotage thing, right? That's a self-sabotage thing.
Do you think that plants a seed to other areas? Like, for instance, you're saying being late is one, but being late is one, is that kind of a self-compromise, which then you start compromising here?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. it creates habits. It creates habits. How you do one thing's how you do everything.
Yeah.
So it just starts with one area of self-discovery. If you notice the way that you speak to yourself, you most likely speak to others that way as well. If you aren't noticing abundance in your bank account, you have a scarcity conversation going on.
Instead of living and approaching things with an abundance mindset, you're approaching it with a scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
That's going to influence the decisions that you make, or you may not be taking as, I know I love the word risk, but calculated risk. If you're in a scarcity mentality, sometimes you can't move your business forward or the things that you're passionate about because you're like, ooh, I've got to hold this so tight because I don't think I can make it without it. Instead of realizing God has all the provision, right? We can have tons of abundance. We need to operate in a way of non-scarcity mentality.
We're already there.
Yeah.
We're already there. And if you operate from abundance as opposed to chasing abundance, you'll take leaps and bounds.
I love
bounds.
it.
Yep.
I love it. I love it. So when you went through this and it kind of hit the light switch and changed your life forever, when did it become your passion to say, I want to do this for a living now?
Oh my gosh! As soon as I got to stand for somebody else, I mean, so I graduated the training, and it's a 4-month training.
Mm-hmm.
You operate as a team, you operate as an individual as well. So you learn how to do both. It's two ships passing in the night, if you will.
Yeah. So you're dealing with different personalities, different people.
Yeah. So you're learning about yourself while you're standing for other people. And as soon as I got to stand for somebody else for the first time and really make a difference for them,
wow.
I was like, oh my gosh, light switch.
Yeah.
Like, it was incredible. And so it's just like, it's fulfilling. It's extremely fulfilling to be able to change somebody else's life. And
absolutely. So in essence, you're serving people.
Absolutely. That's all it's about. I'm a humble servant. That's another thing I discovered.
Right? Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. So that there's so much more reward in serving others, right? And obviously both of us are, faith-based men of God, so we understand, service above self, but it's also wonderful to be able to find a passion or find something that we want to do with our lives that equates to that, because you feel like not only am I living in my purpose, now I get to do it, and I feel like I'm fulfilling what, the Lord has had us to do all along. Mm-hmm. Well, obviously, now that you have this great coaching business, there weren't any challenges on creating this at all, was it?
No, zero.
Yeah, none. So let's talk. This is where I really love the part of the entrepreneurship journey, is because it is not all like perfect scenarios and it works out every single time, right? Let's talk about the challenges and some of the pitfalls and some of the learning curve of, okay, now I'm doing this business. I'm excited about it. And I'm ready to rock and roll, and I'm ready to help the masses. But you have to convert the masses to want to be coachable.
That's right.
So let's talk about that.
That's the hardest part. That's the hardest part, because people don't know what they don't know. People don't know what they don't know, just like I didn't know what I didn't know, and I wouldn't have been open to having a conversation. It's opening. It's showing up in such a powerful way, and basically, making people want what you have.
Right.
If you're and I don't mean physically. I don't mean, physically. I don't mean like the cars, the money. I don't mean that stuff.
Right.
I mean, that's part of it as well, because that's a result. It's all about just showing up in a powerful way that you're creating a ripple in the room. And when people turn their head, it's an energetic thing. Like, people turn their head when they see you walk by, because they know.
It's an energy.
Mm-hmm.
It's a vibe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's sometimes it can be looked at as an arrogant confidence, but that's misunderstood, I believe. I think that if you're walking in your purpose and you're entering a room with that energy, that it does pull other people's like kind. I always say, spirit and spirit, those types of things.
Well, it's funny you say that, because that's actually an interpretation. If somebody's looking at that as arrogant, that means they're probably arrogant.
Come on, man. Right? Like,
yeah.
So many times, I heard somebody say, I can't remember if I read it, heard it, or whatever, but it was so many times people that were barking the loudest about a certain thing is the thing that they're struggling with the most.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And, I look at it with sympathy and empathy, because I'm like, wow, if that's, because you deal with, the people that love you and the people that hate you. And it's that self-discovery of really what they're going through personally inside is coming out, on the outside. And then it realized like how many people really do need emotional intelligence. And so if you had to define really what emotional intelligence is, for someone to hear that, to me, it's like when I first heard it, I was like, ooh, those are some very eloquent words like emotional intelligence. Like I want to be emotionally intelligent. How could you break it down to where, anyone that had no experience with that whatsoever would be like, that makes total sense to me. What would you best way to describe it?
I'd say the ability to make powerful choices in regardless of circumstance.
Ooh. Say that one more time. I want
The ability to make powerful choices regardless of circumstance.
Powerful choices regardless of circumstance. So do you feel like at times we will make decisions just based on a feeling in a circumstance?
Yeah, absolutely. But it all starts with vision. Everything, all of the work that I do starts with vision and the ability to know where you're going and see the end game and be working towards something. And
we all need that, don't we?
There's an emotion internally that starts with that. But there's fear-based conversations that come up along the way. And every choice you ever make is from love or fear. And so you got to make the choices that are from love that are going to serve you. And does that mean that original vision is going to be the end game? No, it does not. It does not.
It can change.
Absolutely. It's a moving target. But working towards something is the key. Having that first vision that can lead to that other vision, that can lead to the other vision, that can lead to your ultimate passion and purpose.
I love that. I wish I had a pen. I would be writing all that down. But I'm going to go back and rewatch my own episode because I want to jot all this. That reminds me so much of my own personal journey. Meaning, I started with the vision doing this, and then it ended up going here, and then it ended up going here. And, if I started and said, I started off as a beard model for a beard grooming products company, and now I'm hosting my own podcast. Right? So it's like you start here. Yeah. And that vision totally changed. And I was all passionate about it and I was all in. But because of staying consistent and maintaining and developing relationships along the way, and I look back and I'm like, wow, the way I developed relationships 5 years ago compared to how I develop them now. Wow. And so it's that learning curve of learning how to deal with different types of people, different situations and different scenarios. And now I'm doing something totally different. You're right. It organically changes. But if you stay the course and you give yourself, so we all need something to press towards. We all need a goal that we need to work towards, don't we?
Getting clear about it, yeah. Otherwise, you're going to stay complacent, and you may stay in a position that doesn't necessarily serve you. You may be living for the weekends. You may hate your current position, but who's it up to change it? It's up to you.
Yeah,
it's not up to anybody else or any outside circumstance. It's up to you.
What if someone feels stuck? What's a first step that they would need?
Recognizing they feel stuck.
Oh, come on, man.
Yeah, because
self-discovery.
Yeah, because if you don't recognize, if you're not acknowledging and taking responsibility for the fact that you feel stuck, then nothing's ever going to change.
So they're going to stay in that point. And all right, so they realize that I'm stuck. Then they say, okay, I realize I'm stuck. What's something that I can do from there? Would you recommend seeking out different relationships, different resources? Because there are people, let's say the practical everyday person that let's say works in a career that they're unhappy with, but they either went to school for it or they didn't, or it's a trade or something. I went through this in a period of time where, you're doing things that aren't your true passion or your purpose, but you're doing them because you feel like it's a need in the moment. And this is where we're going to kind of change a little bit on the advantages of side hustles and the advantages of doing more than just what you're doing, because it's not your passion. You know what your passion is. I'm not going to give up my steady income, right? Which we all recommend. Don't give up the steady income. No. But let's work on developing something else that is very passion oriented. Work your 9 to 5, but then on the weekends and the evenings, work on those things that are looking to develop more of what you want in life. What's your thoughts on that? So,
yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, you can't give up the income because that gives up your livelihood. I mean,
you're doing it, right? You're currently in that scenario.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've done all kinds of different things to sustain as I'm creating my passion, my purpose.
Yeah.
What I know God has called me for.
Right.
But sometimes you got to wait It's not on our timing; it's on God's timing, right? So,
You mean we got to wait, Brandon? Come on,
yeah,
man.
sometimes you got to wait. Sometimes it's just not the time, but you don't get to decide that. It's already written, right?
Yeah.
And it may never be the time. Honestly, something you may feel called towards might not be. Again, the vision's a moving target. But anyway, back to your question. Yeah. So I picked up a sales job as I'm building my current emotional intelligence and leadership business here in Richmond. I mean, it's been a battle. I was coming from the West Coast. It's a different mentality over there, right? Like personal development and self-improvement and different things like that they aren't
very gung-ho,
here,
right?
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, they aren't huge. People kind of get attached over here of what I've noticed, but no judgment, of course.
No, of course. But you're different areas, different demographics. And that's one of the things, like, there had to been challenges because you're now trying to realize what people need that they don't know they need yet.
Totally.
So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, exactly. and so
We've had this discussion on the outside of this podcast. He was like, man, trying to persuade people to get them to understand what they need, and they don't know that they need it because they're oblivious to it. And you're like, I can change your life. Let's do it now. And they're like, what?
Well, the beautiful part about that is it's another self-discovery process. Everything's a self-discovery process. It just means that I get to show up in a more powerful way, or another way, a different way, to enroll people in themselves, in their own vision. But that's ultimately what it comes back down to. There's a vehicle, and then there's a vision, right?
Yeah.
And so the vision gets to be, what you're working towards. What you want to create with your life. The vehicle gets to be something that you're doing while you're waiting for that to happen.
Ooh.
So for me,
write that down, folks.
I picked up a sales job, and because I have the tools that I have, I picked it up in November. Ever since the beginning of the year, I've been selling $1 million to $2 million a month, and I've been top of the leaderboards in my company because of the tools that I have available to me. So I'm utilizing the tools and learning every single day about myself while I'm also creating this other thing on the side.
And you're leaving a trail too.
That will be ultimately the main thing.
You're leaving a trail people to notice, right?
Absolutely.
What are you doing differently, Brandon? What's going on? I mean, seriously, the talk is like, what's so different? Why is he different? You're like,
yeah,
I got the tools.
And by the way, this was an industry that I'd never been in before or ever been a part of.
So there's a good point there. So let's back up a little bit. The importance of the emotional intelligence and discovery and the tools that you've learned along the way, that you could practically put them into whatever it is you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's becoming successful over and over and over again. There are times where you hear people say, or I've heard in the past, that like everything I touch turns to gold, or it doesn't matter what I'm doing or everything that you're involved with, it's always successful. And hearing what you're saying kind of brings it back to, it may not necessarily be the person, it's the tools that the person has learned and the intelligence that the person has come to understand about themselves, their strengths and their weaknesses, and they're just plugging it in. And they're just killing it every single time. And they're using the same thing over and over and over again. What is it? The message is the same, but the method sometimes is a little, changes based on need and where they're at and what they're doing. And so, you're now making, in a job, you're doing you're becoming the best at what you're doing, which is another thing, like I always feel like God has called us to do. Whatever it is you're doing, digging a ditch, painting a house, having a sales job, working at, in a cubicle, my guy Ray back here producing, whatever it is, you be the absolute best at it, and you leave a trail to show, and people will notice. You'd be the absolute best at it. Even if you don't love it, be the best at it, and that will set you up for success in anything else that you ever do. And I love the fact that he's got a sales job and he's absolutely crushing it, and he's building his business, and the business is taking a while to do, but it's my passion, but he's sticking with it. And now you're even leaving a trail in something new that even after you're done with that, people will look back at, hey, you remember that guy, Brandon? He was like, you're going to be that standard in which people are going to be judged by, good and bad, right? So at the same time, you're growing and you're learning and you're still using the tools that you have in your arsenal. And I think that's amazing. Excited to bring one of our sponsors to you today, Two Roads Hat Company. Two Roads Hat Company has been an amazing company to work with. It is one of the companies that Silver Fox Squad uses, and we call it the perfect brim. They have a great versatility of looks in straw and in felt. I absolutely love Two Roads. It's a small business, which we love to promote, and it's made here in America. So this is a great opportunity for you to go to tworoadshatscompany.com and pick up one of your new perfect brims. What if there is one little piece of advice? Because obviously you're an entrepreneur and you're building your business and you're working your side hustles. Just a little piece of advice to give someone that's starting out as an entrepreneur, like they want to start out as an entrepreneur. Give us some couple of pieces of advice for them.
Fail as much as you can.
Ooh, come on, man.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Fail as much as you possibly can, because that's how you learn. You got to fail your way forward, and you're going to fail. Pain is inevitable. Suffering's a choice. So do not stay in the pain of failure. Do not allow it to keep you in the past. The only moment that matters is this current present one, not one in the future, not one in the past, only this current present moment. And fail your way forward. That's the number one. And I think the most key to being an entrepreneur.
Isn't that the truth, man? If you're not failing, then something's wrong. Mm-hmm. I'm not learning. I'm stuck, right? That's where it is. If there's no movement, good or bad, failing forward. And it's interesting that you're in that vein, because my wife and I just did an episode a couple of weeks ago, and it was all on failure. Broke it all down. Like, everybody's failing at something. Mm-hmm. Nobody's perfect. Nobody has it all together. And we're all in this together, and we're all failing and learning, but it's not defining who I am. It's just a stepping stone. Like, I'm stepping on failure to get to that next success.
I'm sorry, I mean,
go ahead.
So if you do feel stuck, one thing I always say is, when in doubt, focus out. So,
man, we heard all these nuggets, man.
So when you are doubting yourself and you're feeling the fear of failure, just give your gift to someone else.
Yeah.
Give a gift to someone else. Focus on someone else, and then someone else, and then someone else, and eventually you'll find your way out of the funk. It's not about you ultimately anyway. Might as well give it away.
I love it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. In your newer career, I should say, as in the entrepreneurship journey, and I ask this question a lot to some of my fellow entrepreneurs, like, was there one thing in this journey that you didn't expect so far? Like, you look back and you're like, wow, I didn't really, think about that or realize that. Yeah, here it is. Here it is.
Well, when I made the choice, when I felt the call from God to come home to Richmond, Virginia, and bring the gift home.
Yeah.
I just expected everybody to be enrolled. Like, I expected everybody to be, because they've been watching my video. All these people from home have been watching my videos. They've been interacting with me. They've been sending me DMs. They've been, seeking my coaching. But then I get here and, I'm start hosting workshops and nobody shows up.
Right.
Nobody shows up. I mean, we had some good turnouts. Don't get me wrong, but they just weren't the people that I thought were going to show up.
Right.
They were completely separate people that I'd never met before.
Do you catch like how he's laughing as he's talking about this? Like, this is the issue right here. I love it.
But you can't be attached, right?
Of course.
And all that really is. They support you. They want to see you succeed.
Yeah.
But you're a threat to them.
Ooh.
You're a threat because that means that they have to take responsibility for their lives, and they have to show up in a more powerful way as well.
Man, that's a powerful word when you say you're a threat. So that's a good one, man. That's a good one. I love when I asked the question, you started laughing. It's like, yeah, here it is. Trying to persuade others, right?
Yeah. Well, it's all about vision, right? It's all about your vision being so big that you inspire everybody else to have a vision as well.
Yeah, and I think it's, I liken it to starting a new business or something exciting that happens in your life or a big event, right? And you're super excited about it and you feel passionate about it and you want everybody else to be on that same level of excitement and passion. And then sometimes when the reality sets in, not long-term reality, but the current reality of, oh man, I got to convert everybody, or what happened? Like crickets. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, oh, great question. Was there any sense of self-doubt or like, am I really doing what I should be doing? Or were you able just to kind of push right through that and knew better and it didn't bug you a bit?
Oh no, that's an amazing question. And, your fears will always be there. They're deep ingrained in your bones. And they come from the stories and experiences that you've had in your life. They're always going to be there. And so to answer your question, absolutely.
Yeah.
Am I good enough?
Ooh.
Am I good enough?
Did I catch that lesson correctly? Like,
am I powerful? God, I'm just so disconnected. Like, what didn't work here? Like,
Right.
like those are the main conversations popping up for me. And for men, a lot of the time it's a self-worth conversation.
yes.
Like, am I good enough?
Yes. What's wrong with me? Yeah. I think men deal with that a lot, especially in the day in which we live. I feel like at times there is, an attack on masculinity. Brandon, come on, boy. Yeah, we could go there.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, seriously. And what is defined as being a true man? What is looked at in society as this is the way you should be. This is the box that you should be in, and I'll be honest. This is me. I'm gonna put it out there. Like, I'm a man of faith and a man of God. And I base my principles of man and masculinity on what the Lord teaches us through his word. And that is, it's not what I say, it's what he said. So I'm going to base it off of what he said, not what everybody else is saying. So, to me, I'd love to get your take on it too, brother, because we're both men of God and we're both married men and we have kids and we're going to get into faith and family here in a minute. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about where, manhood is going and the attack on manhood and masculinity through television, through media, through everything. We're not just, the buffoon that doesn't have any intelligence and sits back and just, doesn't have any say or word or advice of any kind of substance anymore. And that's not the case. That's not the case.
No, absolutely not. And it's such a broad topic, but it masculinity is being attacked by the enemy, and men were put here to be the head of the household, to be the leaders, to
Yes.
To take a lot. It's again. I'm getting lost for words.
I know.
There's so many different ways I could go with it.
It's deep, man.
Yeah.
It's deep. It's
Yeah.
deep. But for instance, we'll take it on as like the head of household and to be the provider for the family. And really, as being the head of the household, it's not being there to rule with an iron fist and to be like a dictator. In essence, as the head of the household, it's to be there to be the server, to serve the family, to be there to provide for the family. They're the ones really in the order of things, like between the communication between God and the family. We as the men and head of household look as the responsible party for the ones that are taking care of the family. So, someone has to rise to the top. Someone has to step in and be the leader. And as the man and the head of the household, that's our true position. And it's not really, it is so out of love. Christ loved us as he loved, and we're supposed to love each other as Christ loved the church and all of those types of things. So I should be willing to, do anything I can to provide for my family, to lay down my life for my family, to do all these things as the head, and to be a very strong man. And to be a very strong man is to also be a very soft and loving and compassionate man towards our family. Come on, bro, go for it. I see that finger going up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think what's really missing from men of the world right now in this moment is masculine vulnerability. The ability to be that leader, to lead the way, to hold the torch, and the ability to recognize and speak out loud what isn't working and be vulnerable and share your testimony and
come on, man.
With no shame. What happens when you're not able to be vulnerable as a man is you overcompensate and you want to prove to the world that
you're even more masculine.
Exactly.
Come on, bro.
And guess what that does? It creates war. It creates war. Men are responsible for war.
Well, it creates toxic masculinity.
Totally.
I think that's where the toxic masculinity is, right there. The overcompensation.
Totally. Absolutely. But I mean, again, that creates war in the world. And look at the time we're in.
Oh,
Look at everybody going head to head with each other because they,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think because things are a little bit out of order. Mm-hmm. And when things are out of order, that's, it's going to trickle effect. It starts at the top and it works its way down. Mm-hmm. Not that one is better than another. I'm not trying to say that whatsoever. But I do believe that there is an order to things. And there's a way that things should be done in a good and godly, timely manner. And I believe that if men were to step up, and I'm talking to you guys out there, to step up to be true leaders of the household and to be there of showing vulnerability, that is not actually, to me, being vulnerable is showing more masculinity than not. And being able to call those things out and being able to communicate, being able to love with compassion and understanding and to show your emotions. Oh my gosh, a guy show his emotions?
Oh my gosh.
Come on, Brandon.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
No, absolutely. We're human, guys. We're human. And part of being human is to show your emotions. And if you don't show them and you stuff them down, then they show up in a different way.
Oof. Boils over.
Yeah. I mean, imagine standing water. What happens to standing water? It becomes toxic.
Yeah,
It's
stagnant.
stagnant, right? And that's kind of what happens if you don't allow the release to happen in your life.
Yeah, that's really a cool self-discovery. Man, whatever, we went down that road, but I was like, I just felt it that we needed to talk a little bit about masculinity, you know? And here's one of the cool subjects that I was excited to talk about is, you know, marriage. You know, so both of us have been married, and I would love to get your take. First of all, how long have you been married? And give me some great like marriage advice that's worked well for you for that strong marriage.
A little bit of backstory first, because it took me quite a while to step into the marriage arena.
Okay.
And, you know, I come from a house of divorce, and watching how painful that was and being able to experience that as an 8-year-old, you know, it really affected how I showed up until I discovered that it was still causing and creating in my life. And so Sarah and I, we've been together about 12 years. We got married last year. And so, but we got engaged in 2017, which is right around the beginning of my self-discovery.
Yeah.
Well, no, not the beginning. It was probably a couple years in, right? But it was when I was highly engaged, and I was engaged into the emotional intelligence, personal development world.
Yeah.
And so it just hit me one day. I was like, what am I waiting for? She's literally everything I've ever wanted and ever asked for delivered to me on a silver platter. And she's everything, you know, I always say this, I always said this. She was all the best parts of every ex-girlfriend I ever had without the bad parts.
I love that. That's a great description.
It was just a self-discovery thing. And it was, I woke up that morning, I went for a run, I was focused, and I was just thinking about her, and I was like, and she was out of town. So I made the decision to drive where she was, which was Palm Springs from San Diego. And I asked her to marry me.
I love it.
And so, there was, it was just one of those ego-based conversations, those fear-based conversations that was holding me back, and I wasn't going to allow it to take my life anymore. But anyway, so we've been married. We got married last year. That was a whole nother thing. We were supposed to get married in Dominican Republic, and got married in Destin, Florida because of COVID. It's been an amazing ride. She's been such a gift to me. And, one of the biggest things that you can implement into your marriage or your relationship is active listening. Active listening, guys, and it's something men are so criticized for, right? If you look at media or
right.
whatever it might be, guys are so criticized for not being great listeners. But all it takes is for you to choose it, right? Choose to listen and choose to be engaged.
I love that.
And if you can do that, then you'll go leaps and bounds in your marriage.
I love being able to choose to listen because we want to fix. We want to fix everything. And I've learned that it's not about fixing everything. It's about listening to everything. And, I've been blessed with 2 daughters, so I'm outnumbered 3-1 in the house. So I'm getting lots of great experience in listening. That's been the best. That's been the best. That's pretty awesome. Well, I appreciate your vulnerability on, coming from, your childhood and background. And that's a great testament, guys, and everyone listening, that so many of the decisions that we make and ways that we feel about things are all traced back to, how we grew up and our childhood and experiences that we've had. And it will alter our way of thinking on things. And until of that self-discovery, you realize, what am I waiting for? Why? What? This is what it is. This is what I need. This is who the person I'm going to spend the rest of my life with, Lord willing. And, and go from there. All of us, brother, have things in our past that have persuaded our way of thinking about. And we're making decisions today based on, when I was 12 years old.
100%.
Yeah. So the wheels are turning as I'm saying that. What are you thinking as I'm saying that?
Well, no, I come from a house of divorce.
Yeah.
My mother remarried. She married a guy that grew up in a house that he was beat up by his brother and bullied by his brother, and his dad wasn't, a great person, and all these different things.
Sure,
And all of those ways of being spilled over onto him, and then he came into my life, and then it's a waterfall effect, right? And and so a lot of verbal abuse, no physical abuse, thank God,
Right.
I would say it was probably close, right?
Yeah.
And all of those things were I was pretty much on lockdown when I was a teenager. I wasn't able to have like a big social life, right? And all of those things led into my next phase of my life, which led into some decisions that didn't really necessarily serve me. And and then it's a long story. I'm not going to tell my life story.
No,
here,
but I get exactly what you mean. The point of it is, like, we all are going through that, and we all have things that we can go back into our lifestyle. What I love so much about the podcast is the more guests that I have, that we're seeing everyone has an amazing story, and everyone's gone through something, and how we can overcome that, and how we learn from that, and how we can make better choices and better decisions, because we are trying to suit up in our life. We're trying to get better at what we're doing in all areas. So I really appreciate you sharing that, man.
The point is, if you don't handle the pain, it's going to trickle over onto everybody in your life. Everyone in your life. If you don't take responsibility for what you're experiencing internally, it's dangerous.
Yeah, very dangerous, because it'll be 10 layers deep on all these other areas. And I feel like the importance of that discovery, and this is the piece of emotional intelligence, like going through that, you realize these things. Is that where the discovery comes in?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But there's the other side of that too, right? If you live a vision-driven life, that spills over onto everyone around you as well, and inspires everyone around you as well to live a powerful life. So imagine a world where you're walking around where everybody's living in vision. How powerful would that be? Making choices from love as opposed to fear. How powerful would that be?
Put 10 people in a room and do that. And then 10 becomes 100.
Oh, totally.
And then 100 becomes 1,000.
And that's what I'm creating.
I love it. That's how we make change, right? Personal I love that. That is one of my favorite terms, personal responsibility. It's not everybody else's fault. Even, and I'll be as bold as to say, and this may be opinionated, but I'll be as bold to say that it doesn't matter what happened to you, even if it wasn't your fault, even if you went through things that weren't your fault and they weren't the best scenario, you still can take personal responsibility, and you can choose that I'm going to act and be and think and vision and cast in a totally different way than the circumstance of which I was in. And you said it before, and remind me again, it's not making the most powerful decisions, not based on circumstance. What was it again that you said?
Similar. Yeah.
Yeah.
So making the ability to make powerful choices regardless of circumstances.
Yes. So powerful choices regardless of circumstances.
Life is rigged in your favor.
Ooh, life is rigged in your favor. Right. It is all in your favor. It is all
no matter what happens, no matter how messed up it might seem in the moment, don't let that run you. It's rigged in your favor. It's directing you exactly where you get to be.
Wow. That is amazing. Amazing, amazing. Woo. You can marinate that on for a little bit. There's so many things. This particular episode is going to be a rewatch several times, because there's so much good stuff in here that we can pull from and learn from. So one of the things I always like to ask my guests is, how you suit up in your personal life. So there's kind of three main areas, and just kind of give me a breakdown, a little bit in each. How do you suit up mentally? How do you suit up physically? And then how do you suit up spiritually? So let's start. How do you suit up mentally?
How do I suit up mentally? A big thing for me is well, I mean, I guess that would be the physical part. So I guess mentally, in regards to mentally, just consuming content that serves me. Right. Something like this podcast might be a great start. Right, guys? So, reading the books, whether it's audio or physical books, like taking on that content, watching videos. I listen to a lot of videos to pump me up, different things like that.
So you're pouring in.
Mm-hmm.
It's what you're listening to, what you're reading. Are you an avid reader?
Yeah.
Good.
Yep.
So it's a matter of surrounding yourself with the right material. It's not. So you mean you're not watching the news all day, and you're not watching CNN, and you're not
I don't watch it at all.
watching the newspaper and catching up with every bad story that comes out?
No.
Come on, Brandon. Really?
No, but also, making time for the things that you love.
Yes.
The things that fill you up. Because if you don't do that, then you're going to get burnt out.
Oh, totally. How about physically?
Physically, this goes where I started. So just making sure I make time to work out and take care of my body. You only have one of those. So
yeah, non-negotiable, right?
Right, exactly. So make sure you're taking in the right nutrition. You are getting your workout in every single day, one way or the other. I play a lot of basketball these days. I haven't been lifting a lot of weights lately, but been playing a lot of basketball, and that really fills me up. That's a win-win, right? Because that's something I really love to do. Something I've always wanted to do as a kid. It was my childhood dream, actually, be an NBA player.
Get out of here, man! That's pretty cool.
Didn't pan out the way I wanted it to,
sure.
right? But there's a reason for everything, and so. But yeah, just to get back to your question, physical, main thing for me is working out. If I don't do that, then I find myself in a dark place.
Yeah. I think too, when you have a good set, like not routine or schedule, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually and physically, if you're not maintaining those areas, there's a point in time where you come to that aha moment, like something's a little off. Like I didn't get to the gym, or I didn't get in my reading time as much as I should have, and it does start to kind of fester a little bit. And it's interesting. I've go through several times where my reading or physicality or spiritually or whatever, and it's been a little disconnected for a little while. All of a sudden, I might get a little crabby.
Yeah,
We're
absolutely.
like, why are you a little crabby today? I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I realize I haven't had enough of that pouring into myself. How about spiritually? How do you suit up spiritually?
Spiritually, serving, serving for the Lord, right?
Oh man, 100%.
Serving at church, and also just making sure I'm attending church, but I like to be an active member of my church.
You mean you just don't go on Sundays and don't do a thing afterward?
No. That's the same as watching a motivational video. If you don't take the work outside of the church, then
come on, man,
you are wasting your time.
Just put that out there. He said, wasting your time.
Well, because it's just like watching a motivational video. Like I said, I mean, you get pumped up for a little bit, and then what happens? You
Dust
go back
settles,
to
and you go
the same
back
exact life.
Come on, man. I mean, how many times have we seen that where like you get the rah, and I'm like, I can take it on the world, and then 2 days later you're like, man, my life sucks.
No, you have to. It's not going to do you any good unless you have the tools and you're implementing the tools into your life. For me, emotional intelligence and leadership work, I spent thousands and thousands of hours doing the work behind the scenes, and you would never know that. But I've done it. And so when I watch a motivational video, it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
I'm pumped up for the 15 minutes, but then I actually go and do something with that video. But anyway, back to church.
No, I get it.
Same thing. It's going in, listening to the message, taking in the message, taking the notes, and then figuring out which areas you can actually implement into your life the message.
I love it. I mean, again, just doing that alone, can you imagine the difference that would be made in this world we live in? If just that alone was done, that'd be amazing. That'd be amazing. Well, one of the last kind of topics I'd like to talk about is personal style. I love personal style because there's no right or wrong answer. Everybody comes from, their own personal experiences, from career backgrounds, upbringing, what they've been around. So everyone has their own kind of individual style. So how would you define your personal style?
I'm a humble fashion. What is it?
Fashionista, I guess.
I was gonna say fashionista, but I feel like that's a female term.
I know, right. Nevertheless, right.
Yeah,
but I get what you mean.
I'm more humble. I'm more of a casual fashion avid person. It's not. I prefer a pair of Jordan 1s.
Ooh.
with a blazer or a nice sweater as opposed to full suit.
Sure.
And sometimes I'll do the full suit. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I just prefer a little bit more low key.
Yeah. Do you think more like comfort and function, but still fashionable?
Absolutely. I'm a huge fan of like athleisure.
Yeah. Not a thing, bro. That's come a long way.
Oh yeah.
So interesting story is that even within the Silver Fox Squad, we've kind of talked a lot about, that athleisure wear of, maybe trying to figure out a way, obviously because we're always dressed, very, very well in all that we do. But there is a huge market now for athleisure wear, but not looking, like the 1970s athleisure wear, but more of that crisp, well-fitted, good materials. So that's cool. More comfort, functionality, but can still be high fashion.
Oh man, it looks nice.
Yes.
It looks really nice
Yes.
too. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Lulu.
I love it. I love it. So do you feel like that your style has changed over the years?
I feel like it was undefined before,
Oh, really?
Like,
just whatever.
I just feel like, I just kind of tried to look cool. Right?
No, didn't we all?
Right.
Kind of trendy.
But it's definitely, actually, it's funny. When I was younger, I used to dress up a lot more. So like when I went out, I'd wear like nice pants or like a nice button down. Now I'm more of a jeans,
Right.
Nice sneakers, and maybe a blazer, like a button down.
Oh, great point. Like but see, the difference is jeans nowadays are a lot more fashionable than they were, let's say 20 years ago.
Totally.
Right. The 90s jeans where it was like acid wash, which is kind of funny. It's come back around. But like even the pair of jeans that you're wearing today, they're still very high fashion. And I love the idea of sneakers, making sure they're clean, please. That is a huge pet peeve of
100%.
mine. Yeah, make sure you've got nice, clean sneakers. Nowadays, even you can find functional sneakers at a reasonable price. Buy two. I always say, if you like a pair of something, buy both of them. If it's in black, buy white, all those kinds of things. Anyway, I digress. But the point of it is that you could still look very crisp and put together wearing a pair of jeans and a blazer and a pair of sneakers. So I feel like that is, kind of defining your style. And did you ever find a time where you found inspiration from anyone that you saw or was like, wow, I like that particular look, style, and kind of incorporated in yours? If not, that's fine. But I'm just wondering if there's anyone that ever inspired you in your style.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I'll read or watch, what celebrities are wearing,
of course,
just to kind of see what is in style currently.
Some of which I would never wear.
I think of someone like Ryan Reynolds or someone like that.
Okay.
I'm like,
Yeah.
And I like vintage T-shirts. So I'll wear, like, the old like single stitch.
Yeah.
T-shirts and things like that as well.
I like it.
And so
That's cool. That's cool. Well, I know we're down kind of get the point now where I'd love for our audience to know how they can find you. So where are the resources that the audience can find Mr. Brandon?
Yeah. So Instagram, it's the big one, that's going to be at Brandon Burrough. Pretty
Okay.
simple.
All right.
My last name is spelled Burho. So Brandon Burho.
Perfect. And we'll have the links down below as well.
Yep. And then my coaching page on Facebook is Brandon Burrough Coaching.
Are you currently taking clients?
Absolutely.
Awesome. So see, that's a great resource, guys, that if there's a possibility, do you feel like that it's more, just from an audience to kind of know, do you have it in an individual setting or in a group setting or both?
Both. And from time to time I'll do workshops for, businesses or, for leadership teams or,
Perfect.
things like that as well. So,
And we've even had him a couple of times now for Fashion Week.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
We've actually had, so that's something to keep in mind in the future. Just keep an eye out if we have it again during Richmond Fashion Week. We would have the details and the time and when that would be set up for him for sure. But I would love to actually have another one of your seminars during Fashion Week because we had great success and a lot of positive feedback from what you did the last couple times, brother. So that's awesome. Well, now we're down at the end of the podcast. We did it, bro. We just blew through that.
I told you.
Yeah, it would go quick. It would go quick. But there were so many nuggets in today's episode. Really, audience, I'm telling you, for myself, I'm going to go back and rewatch it again just because I want to remember some of those key nuggets that I can put into my life practically. As he said, I want to watch the video and I want to do something with it. I don't want to just watch it and be like 15 minutes later, I'm in the same situation. So before we wrap up, I always like to do our little fun rapid fire questions. These are off the cuff, no big deal, but I like to see what our guests have to say. All right, my friend. So one of the ones is, what is one app on your phone that you cannot live without?
Ways. Man, there was a time where I had to use a map and know where I was going. Now I don't.
Man, right? Out of all, it's so funny because there's so many of our audience, I mean, not audience, my guests that have these practical apps. It's not the social, it's not even the camera, it's not any of these ones that so many of us use so much. If you dumb it all down to where if there's like one that you had to have, and it's how to find my way. Mm-hmm. How to find my way where I'm going. I love it. All right, that was good. That was
get
good.
Anywhere without a roadmap. Goes back to vision.
There you go, man. I need a vision. All right, so then the last one is, and this one I'm really, really, based on our discussion of your life and growing up and what you've gone through, the best advice that you could have given your 20-year-old self.
You're worth it. You're worth it. You're worth it. That was a crazy time in my life because that was a time of rebellion. Just to be completely vulnerable.
What 20-year-old isn't rebellious?
Right. Well, I mean, I'd been sheltered for so long that I was just ready to get out into the world. I wanted to be social. I wanted to be out there, right? And so, again, complete vulnerability here. Made some decisions around that time that didn't necessarily serve me or my long-term vision because I didn't really know what a vision was back then. And so, you're worth it. And create a vision for yourself.
Man, that's amazing. That's good advice. Not even for 20-year-olds. So that's good for me today. You're worth it. And guess what? You're worth it too. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Brandon, man, I really, really enjoyed having you on the show today, buddy. I hope you had a good time. It was just, like I said, man, laid back, casual, having a great conversation, deep diving into multiple topics. Is what I love to do. We all want to suit up in our life and to better ourselves. And again, I just want to say thank you. Be sure to check out Brandon and all of the little links we'll have down in the description. Thanks again for joining us on the Suit Up Podcast. Again, appreciate your time and watching all the way through to the end. There's going to be a few little nuggets here at the end of the episode. And as always, if you can give us the like and subscribe to the page, that way you'll know when the next episode is coming out. And we'll see you next time. All right, guys, today's show was sponsored by my very own company, Fox Edge Grooming Products. So we have a whole line of men's grooming products that I personally use and personally helped kind of formulate and come up with the idea and concept. We use all natural ingredients, and believe you me, the whole line smells fantastic. I love it. Anybody that ever smelled it says, wow, this stuff smells great. So if you want to get your own Fox Edge hair care or beard line products, you can go to my website, which is www.stephenadkins.us. And of course, the link will be in the description below. So looking forward to seeing you guys with the Fox Edge. Appreciate you watching all the way till the end today. And thanks again for being a part of the Suit Up podcast. So we have a new way of support here at Suit Up with Patreon. You can subscribe in different tiers to support the show. The great news is that each has a different tier, and within that tier, there are different levels of access that you will have to myself, but all will support the show in a major way. So one of the tiers may be access to questions or interaction. Another tier may be an opportunity where you could submit photos or get some wardrobe advice. And even another tier, we may even be able to set up a personal Zoom call where you and I interact for 15, 20, 30 minutes. So these would be great ways that allows access to get some of those questions and some of the things that you'd like done answered. Now, naturally, if you can't support monetarily, we totally understand, but you can always subscribe for free and like and share our video with your friends and audience that you feel would enjoy watching Suit Up. So thanks again for joining.